Welcome to English Lessons Online. In today's lesson, we shall be discussing how to write a story in Wassce or Wassce. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly click the red button to subscribe and press the notification bell to get notified when we upload a new video. Let's begin the lesson by looking at what a story is. A story is an orderly account of connected series of events or incidents. The events could be true, that is facts, or imaginary, that is fiction. Sometimes, proverbs are provided and the candidate is expected to write a story related to the proverb. For example, write a story to illustrate the saying, "All that glitters is not gold." At other times, the candidate is given the beginning or end of a story and is expected to complete the story. For example, narrate a story that ends with, "At last we arrived safely." Please, before we proceed, do not write a story if you do not understand the question. So, after reading the question, take your time to analyze it. After you've gone through the question and you understand it very well, the next thing you need to do is to identify the experience you want to share in your story. You could choose to write from your personal experience, an incident you witnessed or read about, an imaginary incident. Now let us look at the features of story writing. There are 4 features of story writing. They include the following: title, introduction, body, and conclusion. Let's now discuss each of these features in detail. Title. The story begins with a title which is relevant to the question. The title states the topic of the story. It is written in block letters. You can write your title by converting a quotation, proverb, idiom, or group of words in your question into a title. Let's take some examples. Example 1. Write a story to illustrate the saying, "All that glitters is not gold." So, for you to write a title for this kind of question, you can do so by simply converting the proverb into your title. "All that glitters is not gold," in block letters. Please take note, do not punctuate the title and do not underline it. Example 2. Narrate a story that ends with, "At last we arrived safely." In the second example, you need to write a title based on what you are going to write about. So the question says, narrate a story that ends with, "At last we arrived safely." Based on the question, you could choose to write about a trip you've had. So we can title this as "My Worst Trip Ever." My worst trip ever. Also in block letters and not underlined with no punctuation. The next thing that follows the title is the introduction. This is where you introduce the subject matter, the main characters, and the setting of the story. The introduction may answer 4 questions: what, who, where, and when. With regards to what, the reader wants to know what the story is about. That is the subject matter of the story. Is the story about a birthday you have celebrated, a memorable journey undertaken, or a fight you have witnessed? With the question "who," this is where you introduce the main characters in the story. Who are the people in the story? Please, for examination purposes, let your characters be believable. Do not use supernatural forces like gods, ancestors, ghosts in your story when it comes to exams. With regards to where, it is important to indicate where the story took place. It might be a specific location or different locations in a village, a town, a city, in a school. So indicate the place that the story took place. With regards to when, indicate the time the story took place. The time could be as specific as 22nd September 2022, or the time could be vague. For example, once upon a time, long time ago, many years ago, so on and so forth. And also make sure the introduction is captivating and interesting. This is very important. If the introduction is boring, the reader will be discouraged from reading the entire story. So we need to make our introduction interesting and captivating to the examiner. In order to make your introduction interesting and captivating, you may begin your story with a striking sentence, quotation, proverb that is relevant to your topic. That is in situations where you are not restricted. However, in situations where you are asked to write a story that begins with a specific saying, make sure you begin your introduction with that specific saying or proverb. The body. The body of the story is the main part of the story. This is where you give full details of the events in the story. The events should be presented in sequential order and well arranged. The events should be presented in paragraphs, and each paragraph should address a particular event in the story. You can use the following words or phrases to link one paragraph to the other properly. As a result, shortly after that, eventually, just then. Make sure you narrate one incident or event in one paragraph. The body of the story should contain certain devices to make them captivating and interesting. The following are some of the things you may include in the body of your letter to make them interesting and captivating. Conflict. This refers to a serious argument or disagreement within a character or between characters in a story. For example, if a character is torn between causing abortion and keeping a pregnancy, there is a conflict within the character. If a husband and wife quarrel about the husband's drunkenness, we also have a situation of conflict. Dialogue. This is a conversation between characters. You can add variety to your stories and make them more interesting by occasionally using dialogue or direct speech. Suspense. A feeling of eagerness or anxiety about the next event to take place in a story. This technique is used to whet the appetite of readers by dropping hints about some information or an incident, then withholding the details of such information until a later time. This therefore increases the eagerness of the reader to get the resolution of the story and establish the full details of events in the story. The last feature of the story that you need to write is the conclusion. The conclusion is the last paragraph of your story. So make sure you end your story with a resolution and a moral lesson. A good conclusion must resolve the conflict in the story in a satisfying manner. At this stage, the questions as to why certain events occurred in the story are answered. In the conclusion, the reader gets to know how events in the story finally ended. And please take note, if you are asked in the question to end your story with a particular proverb or saying, make sure you end the story with that specific saying. For example, the question that says, narrate a story that ends with, at last we arrived safely, then you make sure that that is the last sentence in your conclusion. At last, we arrived safely. This is the end of today's lesson. Please, if there is anything you do not understand, kindly ask in the comment section. If this lesson has been helpful to you, let us know in the comment section as well. And if you have not subscribed, kindly do so by clicking the red button. Press the notification bell to get notified when we upload a new video. And also, you can share this video so that your friends can also have access to it. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in our next lesson. Bye.